Hey guys, and welcome back to the Fantasy Line. We got a lot to go over today, but we're gonna start off with big names of Week 4. Starting off with none other than my guy Nico Collins. He goes out there, has 15 targets, 12 receptions, 151 yards, and a touchdown. He was the wide receiver one for this week, and he looked great. I called this in last pod episode. I think he was going to be the wide receiver one going against a terrible Jags defense, and that's what he did. And I think he is the wide receiver one moving forward each and every week. What do you guys think?
Yeah, man. I mean, this man is an absolute monster on the field. He is just built different, and he is just faster, bigger, stronger than everyone else on the field. And yeah, man, the wide receiver one overall is not even a crazy take. Just looking at these top receivers right here, like we got Nico, Malik, Justin Jefferson. Like when it comes to those three guys, how are you ranking Nico, Malik, and Justin Jefferson going forward?
I have Nico at one. I mean, that's a little biased, but Jefferson's definitely the safe option. I'm probably ranking Nico, Jefferson, neighbors. So
Uh, I'm a big Justin Jefferson fan. I think he's the number one wide receiver in the league. I'm always gonna say him because he can always just. I mean, he's been saying like pretty consistent right now, but he can explode for a big game. I like Justin Jefferson, but I'd probably go Justin Jefferson, Nico, and then Neighbors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. I'd go Jefferson, Nico, and Neighbors as well. Isaiah, what do you think about Nico Collins this week?
Yeah, Nico Collins is clearly CJ Stroud's number one guy. Like Stephon Diggs had a good game as well, but Nico was just the guy. I know like near like the last drive, them driving down, like Nico was targeted I think multiple times. He had that big gain to I think it was like third down or second down. We had a pretty big gain when they were driving to score the ball. Yeah, I think Nico's looking like an awesome pick this year.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, man. Moving over to Isaiah's big name player of the week.
My big name player of the week is Jordan Mason. This week he had 24 attempts for 123 yards, 2 receptions, and 37 receiving yards. He also had a touchdown. He had 27 fantasy points. I think right now, currently, he's on pace for 1,900 yards this season, which is pretty good. And I think, this can continue on, especially with the news about CMC is kind of uncertain, where they were like early in the week, he can come back in November. But then I think it was today, where they were like, yeah, he has Achilles tendonitis in both feet.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that's pretty tough. I feel like that it probably hurts pretty bad. Like I know, like planitis, whatever what Justin Herbert had earlier this year, like it hurts. Like when you have a heel injury, like it sucks. So I don't know. I think early November is like him probably pushing to get back. But what do you guys think about Jordan Mason?
Yeah, I mean, I actually just recently traded for Jordan Mason in a dynasty league as a McCaffrey owner, and I'm pretty happy with that decision right now. Looking at that, because I mean, who knows? Maybe Jordan Mason is the future of this running back room. But yeah, man, I mean, moving forward, as long as McCaffrey's out, Jordan Mason is a top 5 running back in my opinion. Just tied to the Niners, Shanahan offense. If there's a running back with the 49ers, you're going to start them if they're the starter because they are going to score a ton of fantasy points. We've seen this over the last 5 years, even without Christian McCaffrey, with like Mostert was there, or Elijah Mitchell. All these guys are just going to produce. And yeah, man, I think Jordan Mason is just that top 5 running back moving forward until we see anything positive with McCaffrey coming back on the field. So
yeah, I
Alex, you
agree.
got anything?
There's not pretty much covered it all, but yeah, he's the top
Yeah.
5 running back moving forward.
yeah.
Yeah, the only thing I wish for him is to get more receiving work. But yeah, I think he's top 5.
Are we looking? Sorry, are we looking to buy, hold, or sell Jordan Mason?
I feel like he's too expensive to buy, but I would buy him if you can. Honestly, probably as a hold. I'm probably just holding him.
I'm probably like a hold / sell. Like if the right offer came, I think I would sell him. But other than that, like I think I'm holding him.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, looking over at my big name player of the week, it is Jaden Reed, the Green Bay Packers wide receiver. Jaden Reed came out, went 7 for 139 and a touchdown on 8 targets. And we've seen Jordan Reed play 2 games in Jordan Love. And in those Jaden Reed played 2 games in Jordan Love. And in those 2 games, he's finished as a wide receiver 1 in week 1 and the wide receiver 2 in week 2. So Jaden Reed is clearly an elite player when Jordan Love is on the field. I mean, he's averaging literally the wide receiver 1 overall finish when Jordan Love is throwing him the ball. And I think that Reed honestly has a legit chance to finish as that, top 12, top 10 receiver moving forward in fantasy. Yeah, man, what do you guys think about Jaden Reed finishing as that, elite receiver in fantasy?
Jaden Reed's the guy on that team. He is the clear number 1 in that offense, and especially like Jordan Love can, like he put up Jameis Winston numbers this week with the 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. And I think he had 380 yards, something like that. So like the Packers are going to sling the rock. Their running game has not seemed to work in Josh Jacobs has kind of not been running the best. I think like they're going to lean heavier on their passing game, and I think Jaden Reed's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I agree. Jaden Reed's going to explode. I mean, Dontavius Wicks led this team in targets, but especially with Christian Watson going down, I think you can start every Packers option. I think you can start Wicks, you can start Reed, you can start Tucker Kraft went out there, had a good game. Yeah, I think they all benefit greatly because Christian Watson went down. But yeah, I think Jaden Reed's a top 12 receiver moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. I got a couple questions for you guys just about Jaden Reed. Start off a little easy here. Would you guys rather have Jaden Reed or Marvin Harrison?
Marvin Harrison. I think it's closer though, but I would still probably say Marvin Harrison.
I think it's I think Marvin can just we've seen Jaden Reed explode, I guess, every time. I'm saying I can't. Yeah, I think it's pretty close. I'm going to lean towards Marvin still because it's just he's like the only guy besides Trey McBride.
Yeah. What about Mike Evans or Jaden Reed?
I'd have Jaden Reed.
I'd go. Jeez, bro. Mike Evans is so good though. That's a good one. I'd say probably Jaden Reed. That's close too. That's a good one. That one's close.
I think that's like a good range of players right there, one below and one above of Jaden Reed, where he's ranked just in terms of rest of season. But yeah, man, Jaden Reed's just a dog, and tied to Jordan Love. Jordan Love is just slinging that rock as we saw in this game. So, and then we're gonna be moving over to Alex's second boom player of the week.
Yeah, my next boom player is Chase Brown, which nobody started. He goes out there as 15 carries for 80 yards, 2 touchdowns. Also had 3 targets, 2 receptions, 12 yards. He had 23 fantasy points. He could be taking over the Zach Moss role as he's been the clear more explosive back. As we see his workload increase each week from 3 carries to 4 to 7 to 15. As well as he played 40% of the snaps this week. Now, I don't think he will take over this backfield completely. Zach Moss has been a consistent RB1, putting up 15-plus points pretty much every week. But I think he could be a sneaky buy heading into week 5, or if he's on your waiver wires, I would add him. They do have a tough schedule coming up, so I don't know what to expect from this backfield. But Chase Brown is going to get that receiving work. He's the receiving back in this backfield. What do you guys think about Chase Brown?
I think that Zach Moss is still the RB to own in this backfield until I see something otherwise. I mean, obviously Chase Brown came out and had, 2 touchdowns in this game, but I think that, Zach Moss playing 60% of the snaps, the 2 weeks before playing 76 and 80% of the snaps. I think that if Chase Brown and Zach Moss come out and it's Chase Brown is leading the snaps in this backfield, then yeah, I'm going to change that in my opinion. But as of right now, I'm still wanting Zach Moss in this backfield. But not to say that Chase Brown is not a great waiver wire pickup. If you see Chase Brown on your waivers, I'm snagging him 100% of the time. Just because we could see games like this potentially. And if Zach Moss misses time, then Chase Brown's probably one of those elite handcuffs to own as well. So what do you think, Isaiah?
No, yeah, I agree. I don't know if Zach or Chase Brown is necessarily the receiving back because I think Zach Moss had the same amount of targets as him. But yeah, I think Zach Moss is – Zach Moss is the lead back. And in this game, like they both had 15 carries. Like their goal this game was to absolutely just run the rock. And they had 30 rushes. I mean, between those two, I don't know who else ran the ball. Between them two, they had like 30 rush attempts. That's a decent amount of rushing attempts. And I feel like not every game is going to be that run heavy. And I feel like if that's the case, that Zach Moss is still going to get most of the work compared to Chase Brown. But if Chase Brown is like on the waiver wire, I think he's a good pickup.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, definitely. But Isaiah, who is your second big name?
My second big name is Kenneth Walker, coming back from injury. He had 12 attempts, 80 rushing yards, 3 rushing touchdowns, 4 receptions, and 36 yards. He had kind of a slow start in the first half, it looked like, but then in the second half, he just kind of exploded. He ran the ball much better. He had 2 touchdowns in the second half. He looked really great, especially against this like Lions run defense, who's one of the top run stopping defenses in the league. I believe Walker can finish top 12 if he can stay healthy. And the if is a big question to me because I feel like Kenneth Walker, every time he touches the ball, like he has a chance to take it for a home run every time, but he never stay healthy. And if we can see a healthy season out of Kenneth Walker, he can easily finish as a top 12 back and continue like the way he's been going right now. What do you guys think?
Yeah, man, Kenneth Walker is almost like Devon Achane in a way where he can just take any ball to the end zone. He may not be as fast, but he just has that agility and that quickness to him that makes him just look different out on the field. And I like Kenneth Walker, man. I had him last year, and I mean he's played 15 games in back-to-back seasons, so that's a solid amount of games. But he just hasn't been able to put down the production with health. Like he'll break off for huge games, then he'll get hurt, and then he'll have to ramp himself back up in order to like get back to those elite games. So I mean I think Kenneth Walker is going to be great. I mean he's played 2 games and he has 4 touchdowns. He also has 6 receptions in those 2 games, so the receiving work is there for Kenneth Walker. I mean, even Zach Charbonnet played good in this game. I'm pretty sure Zach Charbonnet had like 10 PPR points as well. So I mean, that could be like they can complement each other. But yeah, Kenneth Walker I think is a top 10 running back when he's healthy, 100%.
Yeah, I agree. I think Kenneth Walker doesn't get the amount of respect that he deserves. He gets in the end zone. I was watching the game, and he scored 3 touchdowns in the game. And I honestly didn't even realize he scored 3 touchdowns. But he just looked good out there. I mean, against a good Detroit Lions run defense. He was out there breaking tackles. On the touchdown drive, he was stuffed inside, broke to the edge, got a touchdown. I think that was his second one. But yeah, he looked good. He had 30-plus fantasy points. And we did see Kenneth Walker get involved in the receiving work, which is great for PPR because Charbonnet originally looked like he was going to be more the pass-catching back in this offense. But they both ended the game with 5 targets in this game, which is very promising. I mean, Geno did have to throw the ball a lot, so he might not get this much action in the receiving game. But yeah, I mean, he's the clear RB1 in this offense, averaging 6 yards a carry against a good Lions defense. I think he's a top 10 running back moving forward.
Yeah. Talk about breaking tackles. Did you guys see David Montgomery break that 40-yard run? That first hit was like, geez Louise, that guy got it.
That's gonna be an angry run.
Monster.
Oh, that's for surely gonna. That was an angry run. So we go to the next guy. Joe, who's your next guy?
Yeah, man. We're gonna be talking about my guy, my hot take of the year, Brian Thomas Jr., wide receiver for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And Brian Thomas came out and went 6 for 86 and a touchdown on 9 targets this week. He also had a rush attempt for 13 yards. So we see him the Jags trying to get him involved in any which way they can because he is an elite talent. As we see him just on the field, he just looks great. And this is back-to-back games with Brian Thomas having 9 targets. The first 2 games he came out, he had 4 targets. And then, boom, 9 targets. And they're showing what they want to do. They want to have Christian Kirk and Brian Thomas, and that's about all they want to do. It's not like they're going to score a whole lot of points right now, but I think that they're going to get it together. And it's not like Christian Kirk takes work from Brian Thomas. They complement each other really, really well. You know, Brian Thomas is that deep field stretcher, also being like a over the middle guy, while Christian Kirk is mostly that slot work guy who's going to get the short catches. So I think they complement each other really well in this offense. And currently, Brian Thomas is the wide receiver 12 on the season. So my hot take is looking very, very nice right now. So what do you guys think about Brian Thomas continuing this work and, maybe potentially ramping up his production?
I'm a Brian Thomas fan. Like when we just did our dynasty startup, I took him like the 6th round, which kind of like he's a rookie, and people were kind of like hesitant. I enjoyed Brian Robinson in college, and I think him now like they are using him the proper way to use him, and I feel like he can only get better from here. My only thing is, do you think it'll be different once Evan Ingram comes back from his hamstring? Or think is like, I think that'll probably affect more Christian Kirk, but what do you guys think about Evan Ingram coming back?
Yeah, I think that with Ingram coming back, that will honestly open up this offense even more, which could even lead instead of being two-dimensional and just having Brian Thomas and Christian Kirk, it could actually open the offense for everybody, including Travis Etienne, who has been playing very, very, very poorly. But I think that with Ingram coming back, this could, just give the defense more people to focus on. It can open up opportunities for Thomas, for Etienne. This whole offense can just get going because I think Ingram really is a, solid piece in this offense that really helps the team move the ball forward and get touchdowns.
Yeah, I think this offense needs offense. They are just not looking good. What are they, 0-4? Don't think 0-4. And then Doug Peterson went out there and interviewed and blamed the players. So that wasn't the best news. But I think Christian Kirk had another good game after 2 dud weeks. He's had 2 back-to-back good games. I know we're talking about Brian Thomas. I think Brian Thomas is going to be good because he is that deep threat. And I also think all the Jags options are going to be good moving forward because I think the Jags are going to be losing every game. And they're going to have to throw the ball, whether it's to Thomas, Kirk, Ingram, Etienne. I think Evan Ingram does impact the receivers a little bit because I think he will get those targets. He was a target hog last year. But I mean, just a note on Christian Kirk, he went out there and he had a 36% target share on this Jags offense this week. So I think Kirk is still the wide receiver 1 on this offense after 2 back-to-back good weeks. Also, you said that Kirk is not the deep option. He had a 60-yard touchdown this last week. So yeah, I think all the Jags offense are going to be good, even though this offense doesn't really score points. But I think they're going to have to be throwing the ball a lot more.
To get to your point, him catching a deep ball doesn't make him the deep ball target. It's still Brian Thomas. Brian Thomas is the deep ball guy on that team.
Oh, thank you, Isaiah, for saying that because I was just going to say that.
No, he just said he wasn't a deep option. He's a deep
So
option.
you're saying Christian Kirk had a 60-yard touchdown? Christian Kirk had 61 yards on 7 catches. So you're telling me that Christian Kirk had 6 catches for 1 yard? Is that what you're telling me?
He had a 50-yard touchdown or something, a deep touchdown.
He must have only had. Then he must have only had
drop it
6
or
receptions
didn't
for
it?
like 4 yards.
Did he drop it, or wasn't there a penalty or something like that?
I don't think he came down with a 60-yard touchdown from my.
Is either he dropped it or it was a penalty, and I think he did catch it or something.
Yeah, I don't think he got a deep touchdown in this game.
Way to watch the game, but yeah, Brian Thomas is that deep option. Like sometimes the slot, like we can see CeeDee Lamb go deep, but CeeDee Lamb is a slot wide receiver for the most part. I know he plays outside too, but like Brian Thomas is their outside threat wide receiver.
Just to mention, the Kirk did not. I think that play got called back. He did have an 8-yard touchdown. He had an 8-yard touchdown.
Dang,
he did have a 50-yard touchdown, but I guess it was called back. I don't know why. I wasn't really watching too much of that game. Moving on to
Before we move on, I just had a couple questions about Brian Thomas. Would you guys rather have Brian Thomas or Deontay Johnson?
Deontay Johnson. Why is that a question?
Yeah,
that's a good question.
No, it's
Deontay
not.
Johnson's getting literally 13 targets a game right now.
Yeah, he's the Christian Kirk, dude.
I don't know.
He is who Christian Kirk wanted to be, and he's got to get traded to the Chiefs.
You think Deontay Johnson gets traded to the Chiefs?
No, it's just there was just the people rumored to be. So the Chiefs were. I heard that the Chiefs were interested into him before he got traded to the Panthers. So I mean, he's on a 1-year contract. I don't think they're gonna trade. I don't see them trading him, but like, I mean, if he does get traded, I see him get traded to the Chiefs.
Yeah. What about George Pickens or Brian Thomas?
I'm saying Pickens.
We
Pickens
just
has
got
been
a
good,
Brian
even though they
Thomas
don't.
hater over here in Alex. Absolutely.
Pickens is just so athletic. Sounds so weird to
So was
like.
Thomas.
Yeah, but like Pickens is like legit just like a freak of nature. I feel like, or not Thomas. Pickens is just a freak of nature. So is Thomas. Oh, that's closer for me. I think I'd rather go Pickens because he's the number 1 wide receiver on that team. That'd be the only reason. I'm a Brian Thomas fan though. Like I don't have any issues of taking Brian Thomas over Pickens.
Yeah. I just want to say on this podcast before anything happens, Brian Thomas is about to explode. I actually believe that. So I just want to get that out there. I know he's my guy, but I think he's going to like go crazy moving forward.
Yeah.
I just
And
have
after
a
that
feeling.
note, he will be on IR heading into next week.
Knowing my luck. Yeah,
Okay. Moving on to my sell high. We're going to talk about the Falcons running back Bijan Robinson. I believe he's just not that high of an upside guy that I went into the draft thinking he was. I mean, he has a very safe floor, probably one of the safest floors in the league, honestly. But he's not going to get 20 touches a week, especially with Algier eating into his carries. He's had 16 carries, 13, and 11 carries through the first 4 games with 5, 2, and 4 targets. So in PPR formats, that greatly helps, giving him about a 15-point floor each week. But I don't think he has a high upside, 30-point upside in this offense. What do you guys think about Bijan Robinson?
This sucks, man, because Bijan is just so good. And I really want to see him get everything, but they're not giving him everything. And to be honest, like it's just not going good for the Falcons in general. The Falcons just, I mean, they won. I'm pretty sure they won this game 26-24. But I don't know, man. I just think that I'm not going to I don't think I'm selling Bijan if I have him, unless you get like something crazy. I don't even know what you could possibly get. Like, would you guys rather have Bijan or Brees after Brees' dud week?
Brees.
I was actually going to bring this up, talking about how both these running backs they're both drafted top 10.
Mm-hmm.
They both have good running backs behind them that seem like they're not saying like they're eating into their carries, but like, Braylon Allen seems like he's getting a ton of work. Tyler Algier seems like they're getting a ton of work. And it's like Brees, we expect more. Like what Brees had like 10 rush attempts for like 4 yards last week. Like what is going on? And like Bijan hasn't been like who we've like thought of him like to be. So it's like I feel like both these running backs right now I feel like they're just like both just like underperforming.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Brees had one bad week. That's his first bad week. He's had what, like 18, 17, and 15 the first 3 weeks.
That's exactly what you said about Bijan. He doesn't have ceiling games.
Brees has ceiling.
But Brees hasn't gone over 20 points. So like that's what like the same point where it's like I at least from Brees, I'll expect him to be going for 30-point games. Like that's type of player like Brees Hall is. And like Bijan, like I guess like if Bijan's floor is 15 points, like that's a good floor. So you can't say like Bijan and Brees are very much different. But it's just like they're just both been just like underperforming.
Like Alex, when you say sell high, and if you're a Bijan owner, who are you selling Bijan for?
I would be trying to sell Bijan. I mean, if you could get like a Ken Walker and like a Christian Kirk, or if you can get like a say you can get a Jaden Reed and like a Zach Moss. Like I think those are like fair like trade scenarios. What do you guys think of that?
I don't think either of those are happening.
I don't know if I don't know if I would. Yeah, if I have Jaden Reed and Zach Moss, that's fair. I think that's fair. I don't. It just sucks, man, because Bijan was drafted like literally like in the top 5 in most drafts, or like top 7. So I think if you can capitalize, sure, like, but you got to get something really good. because you drafted him as your number 1 pick. So
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't trade. I don't think I'd trade how Jaden Reed has been playing with Jordan Love. Like, I wouldn't trade Jaden Reed for like Bijan. Well, adding Zach Moss to that trade. Like, I think I'd rather have Zach Moss and Reed because it's just Reed's been Jordan Love's number 1 guy. And the last 2 games he's put up like 30 points. It's like that. Like, I wouldn't do that. But I think it'd be hard to get like a good. I don't know. You'd have to see somebody like I don't know what it'd be hard if like to trade for Bijan. I think it'd probably be like a 2-for-1, but
yeah, I don't see any way you can trade 1-for-1. Like you're not getting Kamara, you're not getting Barkley, you're not getting Henry, you're not getting Kyron. You're not. I mean, maybe.
Would you do Mason? I know like there's the fact that Christian McCaffrey might come back, but say if Christian McCaffrey's like it's rumored to come back November. Would you do Mason for Bijan?
No. I would keep Bijan. I would not trade for him. If I have Bijan, I'm looking for running backs who are going to be there in the playoffs, as in fantasy playoffs. I think Christian McCaffrey is going to come back. But, I mean, I think Mason's going to be a top 5 running back, as you mentioned before. But
I think they share. I mean, the thing about like going back to Mason, I think there's no way they give McCaffrey like 80% of the workload. Like, I think it's going to be like 60-40, might be like 65-35. But I do think that like once CMC comes back, I see Mason still like performing, not like how he is now, but I can see him still putting up points.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this is a valid question. Now that Jonathan Taylor is a little banged up, would you guys rather have Jonathan Taylor or Bijan?
Bijan. I think Taylor's gonna miss 4 weeks.
I don't think so.
I don't know. I'd say Taylor if he doesn't miss 4 weeks. If he missed 4 weeks, then I'd say Bijan. But I think I'd take Taylor. Even if he misses like 2 weeks, I'm taking Taylor over him.
Yeah, I agree. If Taylor misses anything 2 weeks and under, I'm taking Taylor just because, I mean, Taylor is balling out right now.
There's no way you guys take Taylor over Bijan if Taylor misses 2 weeks.
And if Joe Flacco's the quarterback, you're telling Joe Flacco can't run.
Yes.
So that's just Taylor's going to get all of the little dink and dunks.
The dink and dunks.
And we've seen that with Matt Ryan and how Taylor went when I think Matt Ryan, or was it Phil Rivers? Who was his quarterback?
I don't know.
The year he exploded. I forgot. Yeah. And it was just an immobile quarterback who just throw dink and dunks. So yeah. I'd say Taylor because if Joe Flacco's playing,
I agree.
Taylor's going to eat.
But anyways, moving over to my first sell or my only sell is Jordan Addison. I know this is kind of like okay, whatever. But I think Jordan Addison, if you have him on your team, he could be a sneaky sell just to try to get something a little bit better. He came out and he went 3 for 72 with a touchdown. He only had 4 targets though. And this is production that's not going to last. He's tied to Sam Darnold. The Vikings look great, but I said this before, I'm going to say it again. I don't think Sam Darnold can support 2 top receivers. I think Jefferson is just that dude. And obviously Aaron Jones is playing great. TJ Hawkinson will be back in like a month or 2. But I just don't think Jordan Addison is going to be someone that we are starting weekly because he's going to be so volatile with just his production when it comes to fantasy. And players I'd look to sell, if you could somehow make these trades done, I would do it immediately. Brian Thomas, DJ Moore, and Deontay Johnson. Obviously, like if someone's like, oh, that's Jordan Addison, he was great his rookie year, now he just balled out this week. If someone thinks that, sell him because I don't think he's going to keep producing. At all, to be honest. Like, what do you guys think about this?
I think that's a tough take. The way this Vikings offense looks, that Sam Darnold can support as many receivers as he wants. We even see Jalen Naylor going out there, and he had another touchdown this game. And he's had a touchdown. I think he's had 3 touchdowns on the year so far, and who knows who Jalen Naylor is. Jordan Addison, my thing, it's his first game back, and he has 3 receptions, 72 yards, and a touchdown, as well as 1 rush attempt for 7 yards and a touchdown. Yeah, he doesn't have that huge volume, but the way that Sam Darnold they looked that first half against the Packers. Even in the second half, they went up and they threw up 34 points. They just absolutely were killing the Packers until the Packers made a little comeback. But I think that Addison could be a flex play. Yes, I would sell him for like if you get a Deontay Johnson. DJ Moore, that's a little closer. But I think that Addison could be a flex play going forward. I do think he would be worth a sell for certain players, though, because Hawkinson is going to come back. And I think Sam Darnold is going to feed Hawkinson the ball a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you can get any of those players, I think I'd sell them. But I think I'm a hold. I'm not too worried about Hawkinson either, like coming back from like an ACL. Like it's going to take a little bit of time for Hawkinson to ramp up, especially like once playing and then practicing are two completely different things. So like I'm not too worried about Hawkinson when he comes back, but I think Addison, this is his first game back. I think Addison can keep this up, especially with Justin Jefferson on the other side of him. Like Justin Jefferson is going to get most of the defense. The defense is going to scheme around Justin Jefferson. So like I feel like there's opportunity for Jordan Addison to have those like sneaky explosive games. Even like he might not get like the volume, he can still perform like how he did, this last week. But I think if you can sell him and you can get something pretty decent, or you say if you can like package him in like a deal, I think, try to get, even like a bigger piece than Deontay Johnson or Brian Thomas, then I think I would try to do that.
Yeah, definitely. I think that selling him for the right price is a great idea. And if you can't get that right price, just hold them and see what happens. So yeah, I definitely agree with you guys with that. But now we're going to be moving over to some buys heading into week 5. Starting off.
One more sell.
Oh, we have one more sell? Oh, my bad, Isaiah. We got another sell. We got Isaiah's sell of the week.
My sell is Travis Etienne. I think this offense is just straight up just cooked. I'm going to be honest. Like it's been pretty bad. The passing game has been all right, but he's averaging 12 carries. It's actually 11.75. And he's averaging 11.75 carries a game with 53.5 yards a game, rushing yards a game. He's had 2 touchdowns in 4 games, which isn't bad. He kind of has had, I was looking at it earlier. I just personally am not high on Travis Etienne. I feel like I also hold a grudge against him because I had him his rookie year and he got hurt before the season even started. But besides the point, I don't think, especially if they're behind in a lot of these games, I don't see Travis Etienne being much of a factor. Like I can see him, like right now, he's put up 10, 14, 12, 7. I don't see him having an explosive game unless the matchup is just perfectly. I don't see, any sort of like value in him. And I think I would try to sell him for as much as I can right now. What do you guys think?
I think he's in a tough spot because I don't know what you can sell Etienne for. But I do think the Jags offense has just been bad to start. They get the Colts this week, which is just a so-so defense. So I think, I have him in one of my leagues. I think that if he doesn't do good this week, then we have to start looking at other places. And I would sell. But I think he still is going to get that receiving work. Tank Bigsby is just eating to those rush attempts. Etienne also did fumble 1 touchdown, so he would have 3 touchdowns in 4 games. But he had a horrible fumble. But yeah, hopefully it's a bounce back game this week against the Colts.
Yeah. I was an Etienne guy heading into this season, and he's not produced as to what I thought he was. Last year was the RB3. But I think that I'm going to wait another week before I sell him, just because going against the Colts, like Alex was saying, is a decent matchup. And if Etienne comes out and doesn't do anything, then I'm going to be like stressing because I think I know he's good. Like I know he's talented, and I know that like production is there. Like the opportunity is going to be there for him. It's honestly just this offense is just awful. Like so bad. Led by Trevor Lawrence. I'm pretty sure they've lost like 11 games in a row dating back to last year. I think it's something like that. Some crazy number.
9. I think it's like 9.
Like 9 or 10 games in a row. So I think this team just needs to get their stuff together. I don't know if that includes like having a new head coach. I don't know what it involves, that could be something we see in the future. I could see that happening if the Jags keep losing games. I can see them firing Doug Peterson and moving on to someone else. But yeah, man, I'm gonna believe in Travis Etienne. But after this week, if it doesn't happen, then yeah, man, that's rough. So.
Okay, moving into my bye, and I put the Niners. The Niners look great. Purdy, Kittle, and Debo. They're going to score points regardless of who they play. We saw Debo get right back to where he left off, playing 76% of the snaps. He had 5 targets and 2 rush attempts. I think the volume will pick up as he's coming back from injury. Kittle straight up mossed 3 people for his touchdown. Was active early in the game, putting up 4 targets for 4 receptions for 45 yards and a touchdown, 14 points. But there was no need for the Niners to throw the ball in the second half, as we see the Patriots straight up suck. And then just to touch on Jawan Jennings, he was targeted on 30% of his routes run, even with Debo and Kittle back, putting up 6 targets. He had 3 receptions, 88 yards for 11.8 fantasy points. He seems to have taken over that Ayuk deep threat role in this offense. Now the only Niner I'm not buying would be Ayuk. I think Ayuk, you still start him if you drafted him, but I'm probably not buying him. And then I think Jawan Jennings going forward is a flex play as we see his connection with Brock Purdy growing. I mean, he still had 6 targets and getting targeted on 30% of the routes you run. I think that is a fine flex play, especially with that big play upside. What do you guys think about the Niners offense?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I was going to put down Debo for my bye because I think that coming off, I think they have a bye week next week. I might be. They don't have a bye week. Do they have a bye week next week?
I think it's later. I think it's like
No, it's like week 9.
Okay, maybe I was wrong.
Anyways,
Anyways, I think that the Niners in general are just going to just start playing amazing for fantasy. Like, I mean, we've already seen it. They're already great. But this game against the Patriots, like Alex was saying, they just got up early and then they didn't have to do anything else. Like we saw Debo get that big, like 55-yard catch. If Purdy led him a little more, that's a touchdown, in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, I think that the Niners overall are just going to be great buys moving forward. I think Debo is going – I'm going to focus more on Debo. I think Debo is going to get more rush attempts. I think he's going to get more goal line work, like little jet sweeps across the 1 yard line. We saw that in week 1 and week 2. So yeah, man, I think these are great buys as a whole.
Yeah, I think they're great buys. I was trying to trade for Debo before the podcast started. I think this Niners offense without CMC. I know CMC is completely different. I think they're going to be perfectly fine without CMC. Ayuk kind of has just been depressing. And I feel like Kyle Shannon's kind of upset about with Ayuk's play. Like we saw the video, I think was it this last week, of him talking about Ayuk and his shorts.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like there's something that's off about Ayuk. It's just like how he was, not his rookie year, but the year after, where he was kind of in that doghouse situation where it's like we all expected him to explode, but he didn't. That's where I feel like Ayuk's at right now, especially for all the drops he's had. And then Juan Jennings playing phenomenally. Like Juan Jennings has played great. Like this game he played good. Last game he played great. And so I feel like right now Ayuk's definitely the doghouse, but everybody else I think is a trade for, or I'm holding. Like if I have Juan Jennings, I think I'm holding him now too. I think that's a pretty good all buys besides Ayuk.
And then
sorry,
one more thing. I just want to touch on Debo. Debo surprisingly, he opened the game in the backfield with 2 straight rush attempts. That's one thing that caught me off guard. He opened the game as the running back. So I think they're going to look to get him involved in the running game. And then also Brock Purdy. I think he's a locked and loaded top 7 quarterback every single week. He goes out there, throws for, I think, 280-something yards. And easily could add 300, but they didn't really throw the ball in the fourth quarter. I just want to touch on those 2 things real quick.
I was just going to say, do you guys think that Brandon Ayuk is going to bounce back? Like, genuinely, do you think Ayuk is going to, be relevant in fantasy? Like, honestly. Because at this point, it's like, come on, man. What are you doing?
As a Niners fan, I think we have to. I think he has to. We paid him this money. I think hopefully he has a huge second half of the season or makes a game-winning play. Yeah, I think we are giving him targets. It's there. He's just not making plays like he did last year. So I think he will have to have a couple huge games in the future.
I think there's gonna be a game where it clicks. Where he's like, all right, like he's back. So I think I was just hold. I mean, I guess if you want to take a risk, I think I'd trade for Ayuk. Get him right now when he's low. If you think he's gonna have that, big explosive game, and I just hold him now. And if you can, let him sit on your bench until he proves otherwise. The other thing about Debo, you said he only had 2 rush attempts. Like he just had the first 2 carries, and I feel like that's kind of just like a test for Debo to see like how his calf was doing, and then he didn't rush the ball again at all the rest of the game. So like that's, I mean, they probably are going to get him. He is like what like they call him like the scat pack, whatever where you put him running back, wide receiver. Like that's like his. He does it anyway. But yeah, I think his role's just going back to how it was before.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, going over to my buy, I'm buying Jackson Smith and Jigba, JSN. He went 8 for 51 tonight, actually playing on Monday Night Football. He had 12 targets in this game. And I just think that he could be a sneaky buy. I said this a couple weeks ago with George Pickens being a sneaky buy. And George Pickens has been playing decent. He had like 15 points this week. But this is just another guy that I think that if you can get in and just buy him for cheap, like you're not going to be able to – don't sell something crazy for Jackson Smith and Jigba, but just try to get him on your team because I think he's going to be solid for fantasy. I think right now he's a flex option, but I could see him pushing for wide receiver 2 role on your team. He looks like one of Geno's like guys, man, like over the field, like on the sideline. We saw him like in the 2-minute drill, like in the end of the game, like he was looking Jackson Smith and Jigba's way. And I mean, I just think he's good. I mean, I still believe in JSN, being that top elite player. And with he had 16 targets 2 weeks ago, and he had 3 targets last week, but now he had 12 targets. So it's like there's going to be up and down games, obviously. But I think this could be a sneaky time to buy Jackson Smith and Jigba. What do you guys think?
Yeah, if I can get it for cheap, I think that's like he's gonna have those up and down weeks. That'd be my only kind of concern. I'm not gonna like go out there and put the house on like the trade per se. But if I can get him for like decently pretty cheap, I'd agree I would get him as a buy.
Yeah, the only thing about like buying these players, like Najigba, I think you just can't start him. Like you're just waiting for something to start. It's like hard because like you buy him and he sits on your bench. I mean, I could see like someone starting him in a flex on like a bye week, but just like with these types of players, they're like harder to start. But I think it is a good buy. Would you guys rather have Jackson Smith and Najigba rest of the season or Scary Terry?
Scary Terry.
Scary Terry.
That's an easy one. He's tied to Jaden Daniels, and Jaden Daniels is like.
We're about to get into it.
We're about to get into
it. Moving on.
All right, Scary Terry might be a little too late. The train might have left, but if you can get him now, I would say get him now because this offense has been phenomenal. Jaden Daniels, I'd come out and say, I did not think Jaden Daniels was going to be good. Straight up. I thought he was not going to produce. He wasn't going to be good in the NFL. I was wrong. He's playing like how he was at LSU. Spread offense. Terry McLaurin, like his Brian Thomas or his Malik Neighbors on the outside, and just throwing deep balls to him. And Terry McLaurin is filling that role perfectly. I mean, we've always known Terry McLaurin has been the guy to do it, but he's just had a very like inconsistent quarterback play. I think, the last 2 games, well, I had it up earlier actually. He's averaging, I think, like 9 targets, a little bit more than that, I believe. The first 2 games is kind of bad, but the last 3 games, their offense has been phenomenal. Their offense has been on an absolute roll, and I think now will be the time to buy Terry McLaurin. What do you guys think?
Man, I'm happy for him. I like it. Terry just has always had bad quarterback play. I've always liked Terry McLaurin. You just like him as a guy. He goes out there and he plays his heart out every week. He just never has a quarterback who can get him the ball. But Jaden McDaniels is looking more than just a runner. Like he's not just running. He's starting to sling the ball these last 2 weeks. Terry's went out there, had 2 straight good games. So yeah, I think he is startable. I think he is a startable flex. And yeah, I do like him, especially with his big play upside. And Jaden McDaniels is scoring the ball like at ease pretty much. I think there's a stat where they scored on like 10 plus straight possessions. I think it might be around 16.
16.
Yeah, but they're scoring. So yeah, I think Scary, he's startable.
Yeah.
And a bye.
Yeah, I mean, if you were just watching football on Sunday or Red Zone, it would be like, oh, here's a Washington Commanders on a 3rd and 16. And Jaden Daniels was just slinging it like halfway across the field, like sideline toe tap, or like every time it was 3rd down, I felt like it was just an automatic conversion because they're just Jaden Daniels is so good. Like I as opposed to Isaiah, I thought Jaden Daniels would be good. Like I wanted to get him. Like I'm still so angry that I don't have Jaden Daniels. He was one of my targets. I circled him on my draft board everywhere. Like, I want to get Jaden Daniels. I was just never in the right spot to get him, unfortunately. But yeah, man, they just look unstoppable at this point. And this could be a CJ Stroud type rookie season that Jaden Daniels is putting up. And who knows? Maybe the Commanders push to make a run for the playoffs this year, similar to what the Texans did last year.
Yeah, I can see it. I didn't mean to say. I just didn't think highly. If I was in the position, I would have drafted Jaden Daniels late. I did in a couple leagues, but I did not expect him to come out how he is. Like my expectations were very kind of low. Like if he did it, he did it. But he's doing it. And kind of thinking about it,
he's a top 3 quarterback right now.
Oh yeah, I think so for sure. I was gonna add Brian Robinson Jr. Might as well to this buy because of this offense and how they've been rolling. Brian Robinson right now is he's the 10th RB ranking right now, and he is playing pretty good. This offense is spin spread. We've seen Cliff Kingsbury run a spread offense before, and that was back in the Cardinals. And that's when, James Conner, I believe James Conner was on those teams, and James Conner did phenomenal on those teams. And I think Brian Robinson Jr. is the lead back. I know last week they had Rodriguez had like 2 touchdowns, or so their backup had 2 touchdowns. But if I can get Brian Robinson right now, I think I'd wait. I know he's about to have 2 tough matchups, but I think Brian Robinson could be a good pickup.
Yeah, I agree with that. But yeah,
I think he's top 15 running back moving forward.
Yeah,
the way that the
just look great.
Offense looks.
Yeah.
I also think Eckler could be a sneaky buy because Austin Eckler out this week, but he was looking good in the weeks before. He was just looking like old Austin Eckler of the past. So he could be a sneaky buy as a PPR machine because he could be taking a bunch of dump offs, just doing what Austin Eckler has done, his whole career. So that could also be something that I'd be looking at.
Yeah, I honestly like that take because I was thinking the same thing. I mean, he missed this last week, and we saw Jeremy McNichols with 2 touchdowns, like just looked great, but he's not even worth a waiver wire ad with Brian Thomas and Austin Eckler coming back.
Robinson.
Yeah, Brian Robinson. Yeah, I think Austin Eckler is a great buy because you can probably get him for nothing.
Yeah.
And he was looking good before he went out with injury. I mean, he was getting some receiving work. I mean, they're getting touches. Obviously, Brian Robinson's still the lead in this backfield, but it seems like they're both startable, almost like a Lions backfield. But yeah,
I agree.
I think Eckler's more of a flex though. I wouldn't put him as an RB.
Yeah, he'd be more
as
flex
RB2
option for sure.
Is that like Montgomery and Gibbs? They're both RB1s.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I think they're both anybody on this team right now. I think is worth a buy.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on to recapping some of our takes. I'm gonna start off with I said sell high Garrett Wilson last week. He comes out. He has 8 targets, 5 receptions, 41 yards, and a fumble. 6.1 fantasy points through the first 4 weeks. He's had 12, 10, 14, and 6 fantasy points, and he's just not living up to that draft capital of the late first, early second round pick. I think every week we go in, like even this last week, saying he has a tough cornerback matchup. I mean, versus Surtain this week, yeah, that is a tough matchup, but he is just not getting it done. I mean, he's getting targets, But this offense, I mean, against the Broncos look like they have the top 5 defense last week. I mean, the run game couldn't get going. The pass game didn't really get going. But yeah, I'm still selling Garrett Wilson if you can. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, oh man, this might be one of the worst picks in like that 1-2 turn, because like you could have gotten like Jonathan Taylor, you could have gotten Saquon Barkley, you could have gotten Achane, Henry. Like there's all these guys going over there, and you took Garrett Wilson, who's just been an absolute bum. I mean, I'm gonna say he has played against insane corners. Like Tennessee has Charvarius Ward. Wait, what's it? Who is it?
Snead.
Snead. Yeah, L'Jarius Snead. New England has
Christian Gonzalez.
And Denver has Patrick
Surtain.
And then San Francisco has just good corners across the board. Sorry, I'm trying to think of my corners. But yeah, those are like the last 3 weeks. Those are like 3 top, 5 to 7 corners in the league. So I'm gonna give them a little bit of slack. And coming out next week, playing against Minnesota, that could be nice. I like it. We'll see. So
I'm a high-scoring game.
I'm just gonna wait for Garrett Wilson. I'm still gonna wait for him.
Yeah. I think.
Would you guys rather have Garrett Wilson or Marvin Harrison rest of the season?
Marv.
Garrett Wilson or Malik Neighbors?
Neighbors.
That's easy.
All right, one more. Garrett Wilson or Bijan Robinson?
Bijan.
Yeah, I agree. I take Bijan too.
What about Garrett Wilson or James Conner?
Garrett Wilson.
Probably go Garrett
I like
Wilson.
Conner, but I mean, I'm saying sell Garrett Wilson, but I feel like I'd rather Garrett Wilson. Okay, now moving on to my more unfortunate take right now. My guy, Amari Cooper. Deshaun Watson is under pressure every play. It just seems like pretty much, and he always has a D lineman in his face. Deshaun Watson, if you watch that game, he had a better game than the stats showed. He threw an 80-yard touchdown to Cooper, which was called back on some absolute bull crap holding call that was not holding at all. But Watson does not look as bad as the stats are saying. I mean, his offensive line is not good. He's given his all every game, scrambling for first downs. I mean, they do fall to 1-3, I believe, losing to the Raiders. Didn't they lose to Raiders, right? Yeah, they lost to Raiders. They do fall 1-3. But Cooper, he had 8 targets again. And if you give him that 80-yard touchdown, then he's a much bigger game, which I don't know how that got called back. But Cooper's getting the volume. I mean, he's had like 11, 12, 8, and like 7 targets or somewhere along those lines. So he's the clear dominant receiver in this horrible offense. But he just cannot catch the ball. He is a reason Deshaun Watson threw an interception. It just bounced
Doesn't
right
he
off
lead the league in
his
drops?
chest.
Yeah, he does.
Probably.
So he's
last
the reason why
week-
the offense sucks.
Last week when he put up 27 points, I was like, he can catch the ball. Then this week, he can't catch the ball.
Nope.
It just sucks, especially going this next week against a Washington Commanders secondary. And I'm on the verge of starting him because, like, how do you not start Cooper? Like, he's probably going to have 150 targets, just 100 drops. What do you guys think about Amari Cooper?
Yeah, I mean, he, as a Raiders fan, seeing Amari Cooper drop that ball and then go right into the hands of Raiders. I mean, I was like, first I was like, oh, let's go, Amari Cooper fantasy points. And I was like, oh, I mean, I guess not. Raiders we're taking the ball, we're getting that win. So that was cool to see as a Raiders fan. But as an Amari Cooper owner, that is like a little stab in the heart because he also had the 80-yard touchdown call back. But going against Washington, I would start Amari Cooper, and I would because you can't not start Amari Cooper against Washington. So yeah, man,
I've been on Deshaun Watson's side. I've been a Deshaun Watson truther. I've been saying he has not been. I mean, he's been playing bad, but he's got to give him time because he's missed a couple years and injuries and stuff like that. Amari Cooper is currently selling this man so viciously. and it is
Yeah.
insane with the drop. It was an absolute dime, smacked him right off his chest, and it got picked off. And then just Deshaun Watson under pressure every play. There's literally they were out Max Crosby, and they were still getting to Deshaun Watson. So it's like I'm not saying Deshaun Watson's bad, but it's just his team has to help him out. He's playing decent for what he has been playing. He's barely played any games the last 2 years. And then you have Amari Cooper dropping passes for him, which is this offense right now, I think, is just selling Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
And this isn't a Deshaun Watson take. But this week with Amari Cooper playing the Washington Commanders, I would say it's an easy flex play for me. And then after this week, probably sell him sell him as much as possible because this man has issues.
I like
with
that.
dropping the
I
balls.
like that
Unless he
too.
gets traded. If he gets traded, it might be, kind of one of those things where it's like, oh, he's kind of out of shape, and then he gets traded, and he's always magically in playing shape. So if Mark Cooper gets traded, that'd probably be the best news. But after this week, if he goes off, I'm selling him.
Yeah, that's one thing. Trade. I mean, there's obviously rumors about him going to the Chiefs. The Chiefs are trading for every receiver they can, but they just get hurt. So I guess that's a positive for Cooper getting traded. But honestly, that dude just can't catch the ball. That's my main thing. Watson's not playing bad, but if he just needs to catch. But also a good news for the Browns, they opened Nick Chubb 21-day window to return. So he should be coming back within the next 3 weeks. Otherwise, he's out for the year. So looking for him to return soon. And obviously he's averaging over 5 yards a carry. And I think he's greatly going to help off this Browns offense to get something going on the ground. But yeah, moving on.
I don't think you realize how hard it is to come back from an ACL injury. He's not. I don't think he's gonna hit the ground running at 5. I mean, if he does, this dude must be Superman. But he's coming off of a nasty.
I mean, have you seen his squat?
Okay, yeah. Have you seen Jalen Hurts' squat? This isn't. He squats that much.
I mean, you could
squat.
squat,
what is a squat
but
gonna
then
do?
when you go on the field and try to make a cut or a run, it's a lot different.
I mean, I'm not saying I'm in.
What is ACL? Was it ACL?
ACL,
Everything.
MCL, PCL.
All right, so he tore his ACL, MCL, and PCL, whatever.
I think it was just his PCL and his ACL.
And he's out there squatting 500 plus pounds. You got sore legs after a day of running a mile. You're not gonna go out there squat 500 pounds.
I mean, who said that?
He's a different
Who said
athlete.
that? Who said I'm not doing that?
Everyone. But okay,
the thing is, though, is that how old is he? He's 28 years old. Coming back from a nasty knee injury. It's gonna take him time to recover. He's gonna hit the ground running. It's gonna take time for him to gain trust in his knee after it legit got obliterated. Mm-hmm. So that's the thing, is he can come back. I don't think he's not gonna be the same for at least first half that he's playing, if not until next year when he's actually gonna be okay, that is Nick Chubb, the Nick Chubb that we know.
I agree. All right, so clearly we got some haters in the chat. But moving on to who I told you to sell high last week, Isaiah.
All right. This guy thinks he's all knowing with an injury going on. Watch Amari Cooper snap his knee next game.
Get these bad
my guy Rashee Rice. It's so sad. Mahomes, I was high on Mahomes, pumping up Mahomes last week and everything, and he decides to take his anger out on his number one wide receiving option and obliterate his knee as well. Seems like obliterated knees seem to be the conversation for today. Rice was so good. I'd like to give my P's and T's to Rice. There's a chance, though, optimism, that it might not be as bad as what we first heard. I know Andy Reid came out and said that it was terrible. They said they were going to do an MRI today. They did an MRI. Nothing came out about a torn ACL. They went to a secondary doctor. Really nothing came from that either. They said we're going to give it a week to evaluate it. Next week's their bye. They already ruled him out this game. Next week being his bye, and they're saying we're going to evaluate to see what happens, kind of gives me hope. Even if he misses, 4 weeks on IR, that's fine than him missing the whole year. But this injury just hurts me so bad because he was my guy in almost every league, and Mahomes just kills him.
Yeah, if you've tuned into any podcast before, Isaiah talked about him every single episode about how he loves him and would do anything for him and cherish him forever. But yeah, it really sucks to see, especially like that Mahomes took him out. That's just got to be the worst way to go down. Mahomes definitely owes him a dinner or something. But yeah, it just sucks. Rashee Rice, I mean, I honestly did not draft any Rashee Rice because I knew this injury was going to come along.
Okay, bro.
But he was the pick of the draft. He was the pick of the draft this year over anyone. The only arguable player would be Jordan Mason off the waiver wires. But Rashee Rice was looking to have a career season. Hopefully get that paycheck soon. But yeah, this is just a huge step back for this Chiefs offense. And I think the Chiefs are going to revert to how they played offense last year with no receivers. And it just looks ugly, but they get it done. What do you think, Joe?
I mean, we all know about Rashee Rice, but I'm gonna talk about Patrick Mahomes because last week I said Patrick Mahomes is a bozo when it comes to fantasy, and he comes out and puts up quarterback 17 type numbers of the week. And now that he loses Rashee Rice, I don't think Mahomes is a starter for your fantasy team anymore at all. I said it last week. I don't think Mahomes is a top elite guy, and I'm gonna say it again. I think it's even worse now. Like I thought, how could it get worse? Oh, it got worse. It got so much worse in the course of 1 week. And I mean, even like just Mahomes in general, like he has 5 picks. He's tied for second in the league with the most picks. He's tied with Will Levis. We all know how much of a bum Will Levis is too. That's one of Isaiah's guys as well. And he has 1 less pick than Anthony Richardson, who leads the league. Alex's guy over there. So it looks like you guys love drafting quarterbacks who throw picks.
Straight gunslingers.
Yeah. But yeah, man, I mean, Patrick Mahomes, they're probably going to win the Super Bowl. I'm not even going to lie. They probably will. But he's not good for fantasy. And yeah, that's all I got to say about that, to be honest.
I agree. I'm a Patrick Mahomes owner. But because of the rumors of like, I'm done. I'm not starting him anymore. Like I'm starting Goff or Sam Darnold at this point. They can Rochambeau for who's starting. But if Patrick Mahomes gets, say, Amari Cooper, and I know the Raiders and the Chiefs are in the same division for Devontae Adams. You never know. Teams are weird. I know it's a crazy – they're trade options. Say if they trade for any – like Deontay Johnson, they trade for Christian Kirk. I know that's kind of rumored. I know there's rumored for like the Texans wide receivers because their wide receivers are pretty deep, not like I think John Mechie or like Robert Woods or like Amari Cooper. Do you think like that would change up Patrick Mahomes or no?
I think what Isaiah is trying to say is Patrick Mahomes is a buy low because they are going to trade for Devontae Adams and Amari Cooper to this receiver core and make it the most stacked receiver core in NFL history.
That would be insane. They just trade their first round picks.
Are they going to add a receiver who's better than Rashee Rice? I mean, Mahomes had Rashee Rice and it was a quarterback 15.
If they add Devontae Adams, oh my God, he's getting a huge bump.
They add Devontae Adams.
That is like a 0.01% chance of happening.
Yeah. But I think Devontae Adams will get traded.
If I'm the Chiefs, I'll be honest, for Devontae Adams, I'm giving them a bag. I'm giving them my first, my second, my third. I don't care. We need a receiver.
What do you guys think this does to Travis Kelce? Because
I mean, Travis it just makes more an option. It just makes
Travis Kelce had a good game.
Yeah, Travis Kelce.
Also, one guy I think will do good is Kareem Hunt. I think he will take over this backfield. He just went 14 for 68 or 90. I think 14 carries for 68 yards. That's pretty good outing. He also had 3 targets, 2 receptions. So I think Kareem Hunt will take over this backfield eventually. I mean, we saw Samaje Perine get goal line touches. But Carson Steele's out. Ben, you can drop him. He's not worth anything.
Fumble.
But yeah, and then just you got to bench Patrick Mahomes. Right now Sam Darnold is a better start, or like a Jared Goff if you can, or trade for Jaden McDaniels, honestly. But yeah.
On to my next whatever this recap previous video. My dispute with Calvin Ridley has continued. I've said Calvin Ridley is worse than Amari Cooper. And Amari Cooper is playing like hot doo-doo, and I still think he's playing worse than Amari Cooper, which is kind of crazy. After So let's go over week 1. He had 3 receptions, 50 yards. Week 2, he had 4 receptions, 77 yards and a touchdown. Again, I still said he's not worth it. Last 2 weeks, he's had 1 catch. Last week, he had 1 catch for 9 yards. This week, he had 1 catch for 5 yards. I think Calvin Ridley is not good. The guy who we all thought in Atlanta, after coming back from his gambling addiction, everyone thought that this guy was going to be the guy. I was not high on Calvin Ridley whatsoever from his highlight tapes of him running really fast in some drills. And I think this season's kind of like proved my point about how Calvin Ridley has been kind of been a dud.
Yeah.
I do support the gambling side of it. But especially with the Titans, Mr. Mayo gets hurt. They just put him Mason Rudolph. You can drop Calvin Ridley.
Yeah.
I don't even know if he's worth a stash. I think you can drop him.
Yeah, I mean, I liked Calvin Ridley, and that's just one of my L's, man. Just gonna
Until we
take
see
that,
white Jameis Winston come back, Mr. Mayo.
just gonna take that L right there. Maybe he'll be good at one time this year. Probably not. Probably not.
Yeah, he'd have that one good game. We're just gonna be like, pick him up. It's time. It's time to roll.
Yeah, you can drop Calvin Ridley. But looking over to a couple of players I've mentioned in the past, week 1, actually, in one of our other podcasts, I said to buy Malik Neighbors. And I know we talked about a lot about him, but I'm just going to say that I told you back then, I was like, you have one chance to buy Malik Neighbors, and it's going into this week. He was going against Washington. And ever since then, he has been putting up like 25 points a game, averaging 15 targets a game. So that's just a quick little hit on Malik Neighbors. I mean, the sky's the limit for this dude. We've talked a lot about him, so I'm just going to move on to my next one. After week 1, I also said beware of Ramondre Stevenson. And after that week, he came out and had a good, solid week 2. He had 17 PPR points, but then since then he's had negative 0.7 and 7.2. And I said the Patriots are awful and that their offense is bottom 5 in the entire NFL. And I stand by that. The Patriots just got absolutely destroyed by the Niners. And I think that their offense is just like literally so bad. I don't think they can get anything going. Jacoby Brissett looks like a brick standing there with a football in his hand. And I don't think Ramondre Stevenson is going to be, I mean, maybe a flex option, but not like we saw week 1. He was like the RB4. Like I said before, that's not going to be his normal production moving forward. I know Alex probably has something to say about this because he looks like he sat up in his chair. Go on, Alex.
Yeah,
What do you
I've got 2 things to say. So the first thing I just want to touch on was Malik Neighbors. Joe was saying, buy Malik Neighbors, buy Malik Neighbors. I'm in a lot of leagues with Joseph, and he did not buy Malik Neighbors in any league.
I didn't. I tried.
He did not try either. So, and then the second point I was going to say, I think Ramondre Stevenson could be a good buy low again because he came back to reality. I mean, the Patriots just versus the Niners, and he had 2 straight bad outings. He comes up against the Miami Dolphins this week, and I think he has a good game against the Dolphins because the Dolphins can't score. I mean, we saw Tony Pollard go out there, have a touchdown, 18 fantasy points. We saw Tajay Spears have a touchdown. I think he had around 10 fantasy points. But I think Stevenson is in for a bounce back game this week.
Yeah, I agree. I think I think I had a chance to buy Malik Neighbors, but I chose Marvin Harrison Jr. So I mean, I really don't care. I was on Marvin Harrison's side of the buy. He was on Malik Neighbors. I think they're both whatever. I agree with Joe. Stevenson, he can bounce back. I feel like this offense is just terrible. Like Jacoby Dorsett, I'm fine with him out there being an absolute cone. I am a Drake May fan, and I don't want to see Drake May go out there and die. So I'm fine with Jacoby Dorsett being the sacrificial lamb of this team, and Jacoby Dorsett is going out there to die. And I think he knows that. By the way, he's just been getting absolutely attacked.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest. Just maliciously just ran through. And I am so sorry for Dorsett, but someone needs to save Drake May, and he was sacrificial lamb. I think Stevenson can be good. I think he's going to have those bad games. He plays really good defenses. I feel like that's when he's not going to do good. When they play mediocre defenses to like bad defenses, I think that's when he's really going to shine. I mean, that kind of common sense for any player. But like if I decided to choose him, if he had a tough matchup, not playing him. He had a good matchup. Like probably against the Dolphins, I'll play him.
Yeah. I mean, Jacoby Brissett's looking like Skylar Thompson of last week. He's getting ragdolled every single time he touches the ball. But I just want to say one last thing. Are we dropping Mark Andrews after back-to-back
No, you just bench him.
0
You bench
point
him.
weeks? And he's
I
playing
think
40% of the snaps. What are we
I
doing?
think there's too much of a connection between the owner and the Mark Andrews that they won't drop him. I think they just bench him, but you for sure cannot start him in a league going forward.
Yeah. As a Mark Andrews owner, as people were saying, buy one of the top 5 tight ends, and I did, and Mark Andrews. Like, I think the Ravens have found their identity by just giving the king the ball. Where it's just like their passing upside. I mean, like likely, I guess, had a catch or 2 catches for like 23 yards or something like that. So it's like it doesn't really seem like they're throwing it. I don't know. I feel like this is just their identity right now in this offense is just running the ball. If Mark Andrews could get traded, that'd be great. I'd be pumped up for that. Maybe he goes to the Chiefs. I mean, I'd be stoked.
That'd be crazy.
2 tight end sets. Oh my gosh, I'd be so excited for that. But I don't know what they're like. Mark Andrews is good. Like he is like a number 1 weapon. Like just like every other season, he's been the guy. He is a top tight end in this league. He can catch. He's gone over 1,000 yards multiple times. It's just I don't know. This Ravens offense is just let's just run the ball. Which
Yeah, this is a tough look for Mark Andrews. I mean, he is good. Like he's good at football. I don't understand. I don't have Mark Andrews anywhere, but I'm just saying this as just a football fan. Like, why are you not giving this guy the ball? Like, he's good. He had 1 target and he dropped it. So I mean, maybe he's not as good as I think he is, but he is good. Like we know he's a good player, and talent normally wins all the time. But in this case, like I just don't understand what's happening. So
Yeah, and
Baker Mayfield this season, talk about Baker Mayfield, is absolutely on fire. I believe he's the QB1. I don't know who's actually outscored. I don't think anybody's outscored. I think Lamar might be close. I know Lamar's had a couple of games. Baker Mayfield right now is wheeling and dealing. This man, his weapons around him are phenomenal besides Rachaad White, who is terrible. Bucky Irving's definitely better than Rachaad White. But Baker Mayfield's weapons all around him. Mike Evans. I think Mike Evans. I know we talk about Mike Evans. Say would you rather for like Mike Evans and someone else. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. They're all back and healthy. Cade Otton. He had a good game this week. Bucky Irving is looking like the better back in that offense. I think Baker Mayfield should continue this. I don't see why he can't continue balling out like how he is. How do you guys feel about Baker Mayfield?
yeah, I agree. Just want to throw one scenario out there: Baker Mayfield or Patrick Mahomes rest of the season.
Baker Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield.
Yep. Let's keep playing this game actually. Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers.
Mahomes.
Yeah, I was saying more Mahomes.
Yep. Okay, let's keep going. Patrick Mahomes or Geno Smith.
Geno.
Oh yeah, after
He
tonight,
wrote
dude,
back.
dude, I was looking.
This is crazy to think about.
Geno Smith threw for like 400 yards and 1 touchdown. And I was like, dude, what is going on?
This one is going to blow your mind. Patrick Mahomes or Andy Dalton?
Andy Dalton. Oh my God.
I don't know about
Snap
that
roll.
one. I don't know about that one.
Andy Dalton is legit. He is
I don't know
legit.
about the Red Rocket because he's had 2 good games. I'm still gonna go Mahomes.
I might go Andy
But-
Dalton, but I'm not even going to lie.
But that's insane.
Man, that is
All right.
That's insane.
that's great.
Thanks for watching. A little longer episode this time. But we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.
See you guys.